Hey everybody. I don't know if you saw the video that was put on where we, the People Constitutional Conventions on Rumble, that had a description about, I don't know, 38 minutes or 28 minutes or something about my conversation with the mayor. Well, I got a response. That was on March 11th, and today is Friday, March 15th. So I got a response late last night and I read it. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to read you my response, which I sent out about 1:30 in the a.m. And then this morning I sent forwarded it, all these things, to the mayor, and I sent him a letter. So I sent him everything, and now I want to share it with all of you, because on this document it says, if you're not the intended recipient, any review, use, copying, distribution, or disclosure is prohibited. Well, I am who it was going to, so I'm going to disclose, copy, distribute, and all that jazz, because they're all criminals. So here it is. And I won't be looking at you all the time, sorry, because it's tiny printing. Good afternoon, Darcy. Thanks for providing your delegation form attached earlier this week. In reviewing the document, as well as the information package provided earlier to all members of council, I wanted to confirm the desired resolution you are seeking. If I understand the request correctly, you are hoping to provide guidance to council on the legitimacy or lack thereof of council's jurisdiction. If that understanding is correct, and here's an important part, I can confirm that local governments in BC are creations of the province. And if there is concern about validity of jurisdiction, that concern is best directed to the provincial government, as it is outside of the authority of council to change. Our procedure bylaw guides our delegation process, and matters that fall outside of the scope of council's authority are typically not permitted. If I'm off base on the purpose and desired outcome of the delegation, please let me know, and I can review further. I'll be at the office for a week or so, but can review upon my return. I noted when I emailed it to him, it says that he checks his emails. I can also confirm that even if the delegation is in scope, we cannot extend the time past 10 minutes, as you requested, though additional time can be provided at the meeting by the mayor or council to ask the delegation questions. Now, in that first video, I told you guys that he asked me what my group was, and I put truth. Truth to council, it says right here. Topic of discussion, jurisdiction of council. GO, government office, de jure, of the public, men and women. NGO, non-government office, de facto, to BC, Canada, corporations and other corporations. PPP, public-private partnership, public GO, private NGO, partnership de facto, United Nations. Desired resolution, lawful jurisdiction, public office of the people, full fiduciary lawful position, unlimited time. Now that was what the mayor asked me to do. Now, Ross Coupe is the corporate officer that responded. And he has an email, RCOUPE at williamslake.ca. And it says www.williamslake.ca. And he is the corporate officer. He's the one that the mayor talked to that I thought was a lawyer. So I thought about that for a time. brothers and sisters. I thought about that. And I got my head together and I asked for guidance, and like I always do, and I typed this up. Good evening, Ross. You must be confused. I did not ask for a delegation request. The mayor did. It was the mayor who told you to schedule a meeting with the council and to be sure of unlimited time for this important issue and to be made public. I have no desired resolution. That's up to the men and women who were voted into a public office, not a public-private partnership with United Nations foreign influence on local matters. If you did read the package with complete, truthful evidence therein, then you are well aware of the situation the city mayor and councillors find themselves in. They are in an unlawful, de facto, and ultra vires situation, operating under the color of law, without the lawful or legal jurisdiction to taxation at all, without contracts from the people, giving consent to contract with the corporations of BC, Canada, City of Williams Lake, Cariboo Regional District, and the Corporation of the United Nations, amongst others. Going to the province of BC, the corporation, is pointless, since they too are acting as a legal government, when in fact they're just another corporation in the same unlawful jurisdiction as the city is. Contracts make the law, and consent makes the contract. The burden of proof falls upon the claimant. The city is claiming to have jurisdiction. In this case, the city of Williams Lake is asking for taxes. That's all, without contract or consent contract. I see that the Chief Administrative Officer, CAO Gary Maraca, was CC'd, unelected and second in command, if not first, is well aware of the situation, as are all the other unelected CAOs in the Corporations of Canada, Inc. et al. The point of the matter is that the corporation known as the City of Williams Lake cannot collect tax, enforce acts, statutes, bylaws, et al. Without contract. Gary Maraca, the CFO, Chief Financial Officers, and the city lawyer know this too. So do I. This is my community. My family and others built this community, and in law, he who creates owns. There's enough fraud going around at every level. Adhesion contracts are not contracts. Tacit contracts made without disclosure, amongst other things, are fraud, conversion, and extortion. I need not add more, although I most likely could. Government service corporations doing business as Government of Canada and or the Government of British Columbia et al. Can only create rules, statutes that only apply to their employees, franchisees, officers, and dependents. Their rules do not apply to the people in general. That's why the rules they create, statutes, are referred to as public policy. All acts, bills, and statutes created by any level of government corporations only apply to persons. Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition, page 1028 states, in general usage, a human being, brackets, natural person, unbracket, though by statute term may include a firm, labor organization, partnership, associations, corporations, legal representatives, trustees in bankruptcies or receivers. Maxim, the word include. The inclusion of one is the exclusion of another. Thus, it does not apply to men and women to whom this trespass is occurring. Maybe you'd best take this up with a lawyer. They're well aware we're operating under maritime law, the law of commerce, which requires contracts. Praetextu legis injusta, agens duplo puniendis. Praetextu means the language, Legis means the legal language. Injusta means the injustice of the legal language. Agens is the lawyers. Duplo means twice. And puniendis or puniendis means punishment. So he who under the cloak of the law is unjust deserves a double punishment. That's why I put it in there. As I told the mayor, it's his neighbors and friends who voted for what we comprehended was a public de jure and lawful office to serve the local men and women. Is CAO Maraca's signature on all the documents that our local men and women in office are responsible for with theirs? Their oath of office, if I recall correctly, states, I will be accountable for the decisions that I make and the actions that I take in the course of my duties. They swear this oath to the Corporation of British Columbia and Canada, as noted on the top left side, an NGO, non-government office. Where is the CAO oath of office? Yet he seems to wield great power in Williams Lake, as they do elsewhere. Interesting. Needless to say, fraud, extortion, and numerous other crimes are being committed against the good men and women of my area. The future will tell how the people will respond when they know of these crimes, especially the one in which the United Nations, through their WHO, World Health Organization, committed great harms, death, and the sterilization of their children. Parents so grieved. Personally, I would want to have to explain that one, and it fell upon Williams Lake with the stroke of a mayor's pen. There's no statute of limitation on fraud. Simply, Ross, I care. I care about my village. I grew up here, and I see a storm a-coming. How we deal with that depends on the honesty and courage of all. If you can't give me what our mayor asked for, then we the people already have our answer. De facto, unlawful, ultra vires, and with foreign influence. Not looking good for the good men and women we voted in. May God have mercy upon their souls. They're going to need it. In all sincerity, without any malice, and always with love and respect in my heart, Darcy Martins, woman, all rights reserved. To the enclosed, and that was the CC, the mayor, and it was to Maraca, he was on there, and it was to V. Schwartz, and it was to Ross. It went to all of them. So to the enclosed, specifically Mayor Rather. And in brackets, any definitions on words and noted herein come from Black's Law 6th edition. Pages put in for easy reference. This email with the enclosed responses being sent to you because you've been CC'd or have been given this information 3 times already, which is the case of the mayor and one of the councillors. Most recently in the documented proof sent and received on the 20th of February. I received confirmation of such in February. The fact that it was or wasn't read is not my problem. It's yours. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ross Coupe in his email to me confirmed what I discussed with the mayor on March 11th at City Hall, council's jurisdiction. And he quoted, I can confirm that local governments in BC are creations of the province, unquote. Black's Law, page 366, the word create, to bring into being, to cause to exist, to produce, as to create a trust, to create a corporation. So the Corporation of British Columbia created the Corporation of the City of Williams Lake. The proof of contract law with corporations, now proven through Ross, has been presented with the Clearfield Doctrine and in paragraphs 4 to 5 in my response. Contracts make the law, consent makes the contract. The burden of proof falls upon the claimant. Other legal terms necessary to comprehend regarding this situation are the following. Pages 265 to 266. Color of law. The appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. Misuse of power, possessed by virtue of state law and made possible only because wrongdoer is clothed with authority of state, is action taken under color of state. Inter alia, that means continue reading, there's lots more there. Page 416, de facto, is a de facto or a state of affairs which must be accepted for all practical purpose, but is illegal or illegitimate. Thus, an officer, king, or government de facto is one who is in actual possession of the office or supreme power, but by usurpation or without lawful title. Inter alia, keep reading. Page 1545, usurpation of franchisees or office. The unjustly intruding upon or exercising any office, franchisees, or liberty belonging to another. He who creates owns. The men and women of Williams Lake built the village through their work and taxation. Therefore, it is the men and women who own, and thus are the ones being trespassed upon, having every right to a de jure lawful office of the mayor, councillor, or director. Black's Law Dictionary 11th edition, page 537. De jure, as a matter of law, existing by right, or according to law. Law, land, air, water. Water refers to maritime law, the law of commerce, the law of contracts. Page 1522, ultra vires. An act performed without any authority to act on subject. By doctrine of ultra vires, a contract made by a corporation beyond the scope of its corporate powers is unlawful. Where's the disclosure? See paragraphs 4 to 5 in my response. Also the 10 points of contract law, that's all. Pages 660 to 663, fraud. An international perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another in reliance upon it to part with some valuable thing belonging to him, or to surrender a legal right. Inter alia. This began, in brackets, this began when we and our sons and daughters were born through the fraud of the bond birth certificate, creating the slaves we are today, and so on and so on. Page 585, extortion. The obtaining of property from another, induced by wrongful use of actual or threatened force, violence, or fear, or under the color of official right. Inter alia. Page 332, conversion. An unauthorized assumption, an exercise of right of ownership over goods or personal chattels belonging to another, to the alteration of their condition, or the exclusion of the owner's rights. Inter alia. In brackets, note here, all the foreclosures of property due to taxation fraud, not good on behalf of the Corporation of Williams Lake, having done so under all the definitions above. Page 1523, unalienable right. Inalienable and capable of being alienated, that is, sold or transferred. Rights which can never be abridged because they are so fundamental. Page 572, exercise dominion. Open acts and conduct relative to land as evidence of claim of right. of absolute possession, use, and ownership. All rights reserved. Look that up for yourself. As I stated to the mayor on March 11th, and within the packages to all councillors, CAO Maraca, and the board of the Cariboo Regional District and their CAO, what jurisdiction are you in as a corporation that allows you legal means to taxation, bylaws, etc., without consent to contract? You are all in serious trouble, as are those before you operating under the color of law. The men and women in Williams Lake have the unalienable right to lawful governance, authorized by and accountable to we the people. Mayor Walt Cobb was in office when the WHO, World Health Organization, overstepped their authority as a foreign corporation and mandated needles in the arms of the people without consent. It doesn't matter what CEO Brian Mulroney signed at the Rio Summit in 1992, because that fell upon the corporation and its employees against their will too. Where in their employment contracts did they agree to give up their bodily autonomy when accepting employment? This too is coming your way and to the other officers and officials in the municipalities worldwide, who by their signatures allowed this treason. Page 1501, treason, consists of two elements: adherence to the enemy and rendering him aid and comfort. It was my desire to enlighten my neighbors and friends who sought and gained office within our geographical area. Knowledge is power, and he who has it wields it with either justice or deception. Operating in ultra vires can be remedied. The conversation must be had. Swearing oaths without certainty of meaning and full disclosure, the 10 points of contract law, affects you too when done in deception, fraud, and others. Suffice it to say, I know you know. Others know too, worldwide. Free will is a right we all possess. Use yours wisely and with discernment. Respectfully then and respectfully now. Darcy Martins, all rights reserved.